one's pretty interesting, Meat Boy, because originally we were supposed to see Dos Santos, Felipe Dos Santos, fight a couple weeks ago on Contender Series. Basically, he showed up, he did his job, he showed up on weight, but his opponent, Luciano Pereira, decided not to make weight. Ultimately, they had to scrap the fight, and they couldn't find him a short notice replacement, so they said, you know what? 2 weeks later, we're going to stick you on a main card for a UFC debut. So, one, welcome to the UFC, and two, welcome to a UFC pay-per-view main card. And he's taking on Manel Kape, who is, by this point, sort of seasoned in the UFC. He's 3-2 overall. We know the story with Manel, right? He lost his debut in a close fight against Pantoja. And then he lost that very controversial split decision to Matthias Nicolau. And I know some people thought Starboy did win that one, but you got to give him some credit in the sense that he's rifled off 3 beautiful wins since then. Most recently, it was a unanimous, easy work, light work decision over David Dvorak, who is pretty bad, but the finishes he got before that were nice first-round, easy work affairs. Ode Osborne got slept. Zhalgas Zamogulov got slept, and he loses all the time too, but every single fight you could see Manel Kape getting better and better, so I'm curious to see if he makes light work of the debutant Dos Santos, but we know Dos Santos as a guy who trains at Chute Box. He works with Charles Oliveira and all those killers on that team, and a lot of young, light in weight killers as well, right? Alan Nascimento's killing it over there. Elvis Brenner just had that big finish over Gutat Aladze, and can't forget the Willie Cat, who's won 2 in a row as well. So in this one, are you seeing any value at around plus 300 for Lipe Daytona, or at minus 400? Is that enough for you to lay the wood on Starboy? Who are you taking?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because, it's kind of a mystery, man, but there is some hype. But is this going to be just like last weekend where we had fake wannabe Conor McGregor, dude, that is all this hype and he gets slept in 2 seconds by Volkan Ozdemir? Or is this guy the real deal and he's going to put Starboy in a black hole and say night night? I really don't know, but with these odds, I'm absolutely fading nonetheless. And I'll put a little bit of sizzle on Philippe, but you got to go with Starboy. He's really been improving, so I kind of agree with the odds. It kind of makes sense, but it does make me scared to see basically a minus 400 versus an unknown undefeated fighter that trains with Oliveira. So this kid's probably pretty good, but you just don't know. It's a hit or miss, very risky, just like the Volkan Ozdemir fight. So I'm gonna go Starboy to play it safe, but it wouldn't surprise me if maybe this guy's the real deal. I mean, he's training with Charles Oliveira, and all those guys are lethal.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that fight. Guskov last week, a.k.a. Bumdog, who came in and just got absolutely smoked, similar to Askar Majarov, right? You wonder, is this guy that sick, or is he of the Bumdog variety for sure? But I don't know, Meatboy. I mean, I've been pretty impressed with what we've been seeing from him thus far. I mean, I know he's only 6-0, but he's showcased some decent strikes. He's got a nice submission game, and if you're going to finish Manel Kape, I mean, rarely is Manel Kape getting outworked on the feet. He's very fast, very lethal with the strikes, and if he loses, it's usually by decision. But if we scroll back to Manel Kape's last time he got finished in a fight, it was by a submission to Kyoji Horiguchi, who is another guy who back in the day was pretty lethal on the ground. So maybe there is some sort of pathway for Dos Santos. Half of his wins are by submission, but if you look at Tapology, 93% pretty bullish on Starboy. A lot of brown for that KO. Only 7% is rolling with Lipe Daytona. If you're going with Manel Kape, do you think he picks up a finish, or is this going to be a closer than people think decision?
I think this is going to be a finish. Now, who wins on this finish? I would imagine Starboy, but I don't know. Maybe the Brazilian surprised me. The Brazilian guy, he does have majority decisions, so it does seem that that's his kind of methodology. But Starboy's been really looking great, so I think he's going to finish him first round early and often.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, it would be the first guy not only to just beat Dos Santos, the guy's undefeated, but obviously the first to finish him as well. Starboy is kind of due for a finish. I mean, he did just go the distance against Dvorak, so maybe a finish is due over Lipe Daytona. But in this one, Meatboy, I don't love minus 400 Starboy at all, specifically given all those unknowns. I mean, this just kind of feels a little bit like Elvis Brenner versus Guram Gutataladze just a couple weeks ago, where Guram had that fight on lock, and then suddenly he gets slept. So I'm staying far away from this one. for Meat Boy's sake, it's a reluctant Starboy, but at plus 400 for Felipe and minus 400 for Manel Kape, I don't blame anyone if they throw a little dink on the unknown debutant Lipe Daytona Dos Santos. But for Meat Boy, I'm going Starboy. I'm going to go by decision, but don't love it at all. Any last thoughts?
No, just throw in the comments who you taking and why. Is this guy the real deal or is he a bust just like last weekend? Throw in the comments below. Make sure to smash that subscribe. Check out the other videos.